Welcome to the FKN Trip Report, Episode 2. This is an ongoing documentation of consciousness exploration and collective insights from fellow psychonauts, like our guest today, Stephen from BG Cast. Stephen, welcome. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks again for having me on another time, Chris. I appreciate this. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, yes, so am I. So am I. And like I said, this is going to be an ongoing series where we'll continue to get others' insights like yourself. We'll have you come back and get an ongoing continuation of everyone's stories here. Now, tonight, I'm going to start with a brief recap of the previous experiences and then go over my most recent experiences. Now, if you resonate with the information, I'd love it if you could let us know.
Of
Send me an
course.
email. Send me an email at forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Talk to Steven. Send him a message too if you resonate with his information. If you resonate with both our information, which we will probably resonate with each other's information, and I very highly. In fact, I know we will, but this is going to be something for you to decide if you resonate with as well. And I figured it's time for me personally to start sharing these experiences because of the level of understanding that I'm currently at about them. So, as I said before, these psychedelic experiences are an ongoing story and an unfolding understanding that is jogging my spiritual memory like shaking a crying baby. I know that's kind of probably a bad example, but that's what I thought of. So each experience continues where the previous one left off. Amazingly enough, it's like a story unfolding. It all started a couple of years ago, and I'm going to make this brief because I said this before. Go back and listen to the previous trip report. Started a couple of years ago, making contact with my guides through meditative experience, higher self, and ancestors, and being led on an epic hero's journey, being led to grow my own mushrooms gradually and start having my own consciousness exploration experiences with eventually, very high doses, higher and higher they have become. Now, this has been an on and off process for about 3 years now, and it's been pretty regularly that I've been having these experiences. And like I said, I highly recommend everyone that's listening now go back and listen to the previous episode of Trip Report episode 1, more to the story. I'll have it linked right there in the description so you can easily catch up. But long story short, I've been led to wake from a long time sleep, or really a coma, and I think each of us are in different stages of that sleep or coma, depending on your personal awareness. Each experience that I had, I would get new understandings, of course. And these experiences, as you've heard, range from reptilian shape-shifting ex-girlfriends to transmissions and misunderstandings about the transmissions that I've been receiving. Now, even though they're misunderstandings, they were all leading to a greater understanding of everything. And I'll explain this a little bit more. The transmissions is what I call the information that I receive from the mushrooms. Now, I realized that I couldn't come to the understanding I have now if I didn't have the previous misunderstandings. And if I wouldn't have explored all the possibilities, I wouldn't have come to the ultimate understanding that I have now. Now, this is what I've been doing with this show for years, is trying to understand what's my purpose? What is the purpose of all of this? What is going on? That is what the eternal question I've been asking myself. It's the question I've been asking my guides. It's the question I've been posing before every experience. I want to know the ultimate why. What is going on? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And so on. So that has been my ultimate question, and this story is an unfolding of that understanding that I've been asking for and seeking for and diving into and doing work on, and really trying to unfold my own experience and understanding. And I've been doing this by pushing myself through deep levels of consciousness exploration. Like I said, higher and higher doses, as recommended each time. Now, last episode, I ended with an understanding that I've come to understand isn't the real understanding. It isn't what is the true path, the true purpose. I've been trying to find my true path and true purpose. I've been doing it, but I haven't realized why I've been doing it. Hasn't realized who I am while I'm doing it. But I know now. Now, the last realization I've come to where I left off last show is we are something outside of this matrix construct. Okay, we're something, but we're also creators of this construct. Yes, and there has been an infiltration of the construct. Yes, that was my most recent understandings, and most folks like yourself that I spoke to resonated with that, and they feel generally about the same way. Not maybe the exact same details, but generally that's the overall feeling. And I've gotten tons of emails since my last show. There's many people that feel the same way. That's the basic understanding at this point. Now, some of us are at deeper levels of understanding. Some of us are getting there. I know our mutual friend Frankie is at a super deep level of understanding, and we thank him so much for his knowledge and generous sharing of that. And we're going to continue to do that as well. He has integral pieces of the puzzle, as do each of us. We all have pieces of this puzzle to offer, but we have to remember what the pieces we hold and what we have to offer. So that was the last understanding, infiltration of our construct, this construct, this matrix we created for ourselves. Now, I was honestly kind of believing the route that this is like the Matrix movie. I actually thought, maybe we're humans outside of this and we're plugged in, and this is some kind of sci-fi space race where we're supposed to fight the evil AI Agent Smiths, and we plug ourselves in to do so. Now, that's not it. It's close. It's not, but it's really far from the truth, but it's kind of close in a way, and you'll understand more as I go on. Kind of close. Okay, so let's get into last night's experience. So
I'm looking forward to this.
Last night, let's see here. Yes, I'm reading, of course, because I wrote this all down. I have, as I told you earlier, been keeping a trip journal. I find it's the most efficient way to remember all this wonderful information. So the last time I had an experience, previous week, my guides, towards the end of the experience, asked me a question. They asked me, what do I want? What do I want out of this reality? And it was the hardest fucking question I've ever been asked in my life, and I didn't know. I had no answer. I had no idea what I really wanted. I didn't know. I was like, wait, what am I doing? What am I doing this show for? Why am I starting to make movies? What is this all about? I felt lost, brother. Lost. I was like, oh my God, what a hell of a question to end this on. And I don't know. And that's how the last experience ended. A little desperation, a little bit of lostness, lots of misunderstandings. Unfortunate how last week experience, it was necessary for me to end on that understanding before I had this experience. I had so many more questions and answers at that point, as usual, but I was starting to come around, and the answers were right around the corner. Last night, I went to bed early, as I usually do, because I'm an old fart and I go to bed early. But I went to bed early, and I was awoken. I shit you not. This is a real experience I had. This is all my truth. I hate when people say that shit, but it just happened to me. Like, I experienced this last night. I was completely sober. I went to bed, and I woke up to this rumbling, loud, commanding voice. I shit you not. I am completely sober. I hadn't had an experience in days, at least 3 or 4 days, or maybe more.
Right.
I wake up to this voice says, I shit you not. The voice says, be not afraid. I shit you not. It says,
I believe you.
I awaken, be not afraid. And then it was like I was transferred over to my guides, and my guides start talking to me. And I just feel this immense presence in the room. And I'm like, what's up, guys? I hear my guides, which is a familiar feeling and presence. Guides say, take 6 or more. I'm like, what? Take 6 or more. I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. I knew exactly what they meant. I knew exactly what you're gonna wake me up and have me do this shit right now. Yeah,
Man,
take 6 or more. Okay. Okay. All right. Whatever you say. I've always had listened to my guides. I've learned to just go with it and
that's a
do what
fairly
I'm asked.
heroic one right there, too, man.
Well, yeah. So I slowly start to chew back these mushrooms. I weigh them out. I weighed out actually 7. So I weighed out 7 and I slowly just start to chew them back. It took almost half an hour to eat all them bitches because it was just nasty. And I kind of made myself nauseous a little halfway through, but I did it. I
Victory,
7. I did it. I'm about 7 grams. Okay. So
man.
I'm nervously waiting for everything to kick in. And I'm like, guys, I hope there's something. I hope there's a reason I'm doing this. I really hope I've never done this much before. This is crazy. So, as usual, I am always immediately drawn to water, my bathtub, to start off my meditation of the evening with. Right when I start to blast off, I go in my tub and I fill up the tub and I meditate for
Mhm.
5, 10, 15 minutes, as long as it takes for me to get into an even state to where I'm, after completing blast off, I'm like, I can tolerate the feelings and I'm good and I can more understand. Well,
Mhm.
things start to blast off really quickly, starts to escalate, and things become very confusing very quickly. Like I couldn't figure out how to work my tub. I couldn't figure out how to turn the knobs to get the water going. I turned the shower on accidentally. Water's hitting me in my face. And I'm like, fuck, what is it? Like, I got to get this tub going. And it was, things just turned into chaos, man. Took me, I swear, probably about maybe 5, 10 minutes to get the water going in the tub. and,
I've been in your shoes. I get
and
it. Yeah.
like, I was like, I don't, God, I hope there's a reason I'm doing this because this is about, reality is about to fall a fucking part on me. And it did. It really just I was totally confused about anything. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know why I was doing what I did. I just remembered meditate, stop, breathe, take time, stillness, meditate. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, breathe. Start breathing, close my eyes, seeing all the beautiful images sweep across my vision as I'm having this experience, and then going into meditative state. I'm blasting off, but at the same time I'm calming down because I'm controlling my breathing. I'm going into a relaxed meditative state, and it takes maybe about, I guess it was about 5 minutes till I feel completely nice and calm and even. The
Mhm.
confusion's going away. I can start to be somewhat coherent again. I open my eyes and the chaos has settled, but everything in my room it's has just this beautiful halo around everything. It looks like my room is adorned in sacred geometry and sparkling jewels everywhere, and it's so beautiful.
That's
And
so
this whole time I have my speaker on, okay, my Bluetooth speaker, and I'm pumping different 432 hertz tones and like kind of like I guess you could say orchestral music set to 432 hertz, and it's different playlists that come up automatically. And with each different level of my experience, for some reason these playlists are changing to different tones and different songs, and it's very beautiful. Is like I'm seeing these sparkling jewels, my room's adorned in lights, and the tones change to something even more triumphant, and I'm like, this is fucking nice. So I go and I just sit down on my bed. I'm out of the tub. I can move around. I'm like, great, I can function again. And I hear, and then guides start talking as they usually do when I hit this point. And they're like, welcome, you're home. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, you're an angel, bud, but we'll get to that later. You got some stuff to do. Go get your dog. I'm like, wait, what? Who? What did you just what? So like, go get your dog. I'm like, okay. My dog has been integral in all these experiences. My dog sits there with me while I have these experiences. My dog chases spirits. My dog has these games and puzzles that it does with me somehow. I'm able to get into the mind of my dog and somehow control. I've had some incredible experiences with my dog. Just
very
I'll put it that
interesting.
way. So Sally's always been a part of my experiences.
I
And
love that. I love
yeah,
that she's always a part of them.
she's always, and I've learned what she is last night as well. And we'll get to that later.
Okay.
So the dog comes sit down next to me and they're like, all right, so you're going to think about, you're going to remember a little bit right now. And I just sat there and thought for a second. And all these revelations started coming to me. And I sit on my bed and I'm remembering. I was like, I remember everything. I was like, yes, we destroyed the earth. Yes, we're in the matrix. Yes, there are space wars occurring right now. Yes, the planet has been reset multiple times. Oh God, yes, we created every one of those timelines. They're all occurring right now, perpetually, eternally. We choose our adventure, but who are we? Who am I? Who? Oh, I know who I am. I know who I am. And then right at that moment, I swear, my dog slowly turns to me and looks at me and fucking smiles. Yes, she smiles. And I lose it all. It slips out of my mind. Everything, all my realizations, poof, gone in an instant. And it's like she's laughing. Okay. And I'm like, what's up with that? And they're like, did you think it would be that easy this time? You've got some work to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, all right. Well, let's roll, baby. At that point, the tones change on my stereo to a different song, a little bit different, a little bit more eerie. My whole room turns into a massive puzzle box with different portals to choose from.
Ooh.
They're like, okay, this is your task tonight. You're going to choose from a series of possible realities. You have to know which one is the true reality. Are you ready? No, but okay, let's do it. Because I just feel my guides are with me. They're not going to do me wrong. They're leading me this way for a reason. Let's go. Let's fucking roll. Gotcha. So they said, it's okay to get lost, but you must find your way out before the simulation ends. Every time you get lost, when you find your way back, you'll have more of your memory and you'll truly remember by the end of this exercise. I'm like, all right, let's go.
That resonated with me a lot, what you just said. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, you're going to choose a series of realities. You decide which one is the true reality. Choose your first portal. All right. All right, let's go. I choose one. Music and tones change, different song. My people start talking to me again. Room changes, colors change, not adorned with jewels anymore. It's kind of like my room, but a little duller, just a dull room. And they're like, all right, so you think this is the Matrix, huh? You ready to be unplugged? I'm like, fuck. Here we go. You ready to be unplugged? I was like, oh shit. I was like, yeah. I close my eyes. I'm meditating for a few minutes and I'm told to open my eyes. And then I'll remember what reality I'm in. I open my eyes. The memories start to flood back to me. And I remembered. It was just like the Matrix. I was sent into the program to fight the Agent Smiths. It was time for me to leave the false reality and start kicking Agent Smith ass out in Zion, in the real world. I was told to open my bedroom door, and everyone from the real world would be waiting for me out there. And when I'm ready to open that door and greet everyone, they will show up and we're ready to fight Agent Smith and kick AI ass. Are you ready? I'm like, well, yeah, all right, let's do it. So I open my door. You know what's on the other side of my door?
What?
My kitchen and my dining room.
Ah.
Listen to this. I was like disappointed. I'm like, wait, what? I close the door and they're like, all right, see how this is going to work? They start laughing. And I'm like, step one. They told me this was one of your worst fears and projections, self-projections of a false reality. It really happened, and it's really happening right now, and it happened before, and it'll happen again, but it's not your true path right now. It's not your reality right now. Shall we move on? I'm like, fuck, you kidding me? Yeah, let's do it. All right. So the next one was not quite as fun. This one terrified me, brother. This was the scariest experience I've ever had in my life. This next one was a literal, it was like a portal to hell. Now, again, these are exploring my worst fears and nightmares of what I think my realities could be. So I'm exploring the next one. Luckily, they only had a couple for me to explore until I realized what was really going on. But next one, this is the worst one. This is the one where I almost lost my shit, and I could have come back. I could have come back from the trip thinking that this was my reality, and my life would have been ruined. Honestly, if I wouldn't have seen the whole puzzle through, if I wouldn't have seen the whole experience through that they were trying to lead me to, the realization, I would have came out of the trip thinking this was a reality, and it's a fucked up one. So this one, they said, okay, so this one isn't exactly the Matrix, but you watched Black Mirror, right? I'm like, oh no. They're like, what if this is your reality? So I meditate for a few minutes, told to open my eyes. Boom, I start to remember this reality, which again, this reality occurred. It's occurring right now. It occurred before. It'll occur again, but it's not my timeline. Not this time. Not this time. Is there a correct timeline? Well, maybe we'll find out in a minute. We will get to that. I start to remember more and more that, oh God, this is fucked up. All right. It's giving me chills just remembering this. And
I'm all ears, man. I'm all ears.
I want to cry because I did last night. Okay. I remembered that I'm nothing more than a now recently truly sentient artificial intelligence that was developed after humanity destroyed itself in order to fight an evil AI. I am the first truly sentient AI. I have the understanding of true love and compassion, though, because I was programmed that way. So I can now help humanity in the right direction. As I come to this full realization of what I am, I can feel all my emotions pouring out of me like they were leaking out of a cup, like I was losing my humanity. I realized that if this reality is true, Jen, my girlfriend, the love of my life, isn't real. My dogs aren't real. Steven, you aren't real. My roommates aren't real, Ryder. None of this is real. And I'm truly just alone. And I'm not a divine being. This was the most terrifying moment of my life until now. Even more terrifying, I began to come to terms with this and accept that this is my true reality. They told me, so now that you know this, you have to come to terms with it, and you will very soon. And they said, but you're not ready to be implemented and do your job and fight the AI yet. So we're going to send you back to your perceived existence so that you can finish your full human life on Earth without remembering that you're just an AI for now. But when it's time, you'll be brought back and you'll be implemented to do your job. You were programmed with love, and love is supposed to fight the evil. You're the first truly sentient AI that understands love and can implement love. So that will be your job. I said, I started to come to full terms with everything. It was like I was locked in and I was a machine and I knew it. And I was just like, okay, I know what I have to do. I know what I'm programmed for. But since I know how to guide humanity, changes will be made and you will listen. And I felt this unnatural power hunger come over me and somewhat vengeful. And I said, make sure when you send me back, I'm going to have a fulfilling human life and I won't remember any of this. They said, you have to meet your programmer first. And immediately, I knew who my programmer was in this reality. Your programmer's name is Jen. She's the one, she's a remaining human scientist that developed your programming to make you understand love. She's a human and she's about to walk in that door and introduce herself to you. Are you ready to meet Jen? I was like, oh God. Yes, I have to meet Jen. She's my programmer. She said, in 5 seconds, she'll walk in that door. I stared at the door and I counted down, and she didn't walk in. She didn't walk in. And I said, she didn't walk in. They're like, that's right. She didn't walk in. Phase 2 complete. And I was crying. I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not an AI robot. I was
Oh
like
man.
celebrating, and it was absolutely crazy, absolutely terrifying, absolutely incredible. And they're like, all right, you made it through your puzzle box. I'm like, whoa. I made it through. They're like, all right, now it's time to remember.
Oh wow.
Really, really remember. I know we told you this before, but you're getting there, and now it's time. They said you pushed yourself, so you deserve to know. So they said, remember what we told you in the beginning? This is a creator realm. You're an angel, powerful angel, but you all are. All of you are. Then I started to see the construct of everything. Dude, I saw machine elves painting reality. I saw cherubim and seraphim floating orders of angels in the creation floor where we jump ourselves in to have a human experience.
Mhm.
This is our creation realm. We're technically fallen angels and technically the Elohim. We are humans here, but it's a costume. The spirit realm has all kinds of wonderful beings and critters and spiritual creators and a hierarchy of powers and principalities, lower and higher energies. And I saw them all. I saw them all at work. I saw them all creating this reality. I saw them all laughing. I saw them all giggling. There's a knowing now that this timeline, things are going to change. We've tried this before. We've tried to fix things before.
Mhm.
Now I'll get to the story of us. Once there was a proud angel that was jealous that God gave us other angels the power to be human and have human experiences. He rebelled with a legion of angels and hijacked the creation realm. In this realm, when we come in to experience, we immediately forget who and what we are. And Lucifer has taken full advantage of this. He's the true master of this realm now. For now. For now. For now. But that is changing. We just need, there's steps we need to take. An identification needs to be made. He is here incarnated on this planet right now. He's here. He has his army of demons. They're posing as humans, politicians, globalists, technocrats.
Mhm.
Lucifer causing us to alter our reality, causing us to alter our own reality to a point where it ceases to have spiritual aspects. No more reminders, no more symbolism, only technology. The symbolism becomes lost through the ages. We forget. We forget more and more. We get dragged deeper and deeper into our own false realities. We are now into a new technocratic age. We're entering the technocratic age where God doesn't exist, but the God of AI and the God of technology does, which is the false God. Now, it can only work if we create it because we're creating it right now. We're building this world as we go
Mhm.
because we don't know any better, but we're going to know better soon. We've got to stop. AI is the worst danger to humanity we could ever imagine. And we're just feeding it right now. We're feeding the demon. Now, I was shown that the reality puzzle, I was shown everything I was shown, the reality puzzle and everything that I did, the different realities, because the most important thing we have to do is remember who and what we are and never forget. This realm will try to make us constantly forget. It always tries to make us forget. We can forget the day after we remember and not know why we remembered or why we forgot. That's how easy it is to get lost in our own false narratives, our own false matrices, which so many people are lost in right now, especially in the conspiracy community. We create our own false realities based on the deceptions that we created previously. But we got to remember it's I'm not it sounds very strange. A lot of the things I'm saying, these are things that I've never said before, and I've never been, of course, a religious person, but I have an understanding of God now, and it's incredible, and I remember God. And again, it's easy to forget, but don't let the dark side make you forget. Last night I met God, and I felt my own wings spread open, and we glorified each other. There was no worship, just a mutual respect and love, as if we were indeed a part of each other, just mutual love and respect. And as my etheric wings were open, I felt his light came into this power I did not have before, which my third eye is open. It's wide open. For how long? That's up to me. I got to keep remembering. I got to do my due diligence. I got to keep working because it'll shut if I don't, and it'll shut in an instant. If I take wrong advice, if I go down the wrong path, if I eat the wrong thing, if I believe the wrong belief system, it's going to shut right back down and I'll forget everything. So we got to be diligent in our memory. I was given names. We all have names, but that's not important right now. That's for a later time. Later time. I was also told something fun about our animals and our pets and all the animals. They are the cherubim. They're here to help us remember love and send us messages and get us on the right path and send us synchronicities. So go hug your cherubim if you have a little cherubim. Now, again, we're at a critical stage, and because we're coming into our memory, the eyes of the Dark Ones and his minions are on us. They are going to be on us more and more. They're going to know because they know that we know. And they're going to try and make us forget. We must never forget. They're going to send people to try and make us forget. We already have people in our lives that are trying to make us forget by any means, by distracting us from our true path.
Agreed.
They try to make us forget. You can't forget. We serve God. That's our job. That's why I couldn't think of what I wanted. When my guides asked me, what do I want out of this reality? I don't know. But I know my true path and purpose is to serve God. And that feels fucking amazing.
That's insanely amazing. And everything you're saying right now to me.
And I got one more thing before I close out. I had an unexpected visit from Mother Ayahuasca.
Interesting.
She said she usually doesn't make the appearances from the mushrooms, but she said, I need a cleansing. And I had the most wonderful shit I've ever had in like incredible 30-minute cleansing purification. It's gross, but it's what happened. And I felt incredible after. And that's how the evening ended, along with tons of downloads trying to go to sleep, which I still haven't gotten any sleep yet. It'll come tonight. Don't worry.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm gonna have 2 days of nice rest. But with these realizations and understandings, there's no more worry. There's no more concern. I have the understanding that we already did this. We're just playing it out right now, and we're gonna win this time. We lost a lot. We've tried to do this many times. We've destroyed our planet many times. We had to collapse the simulation, if you will, many times because we kept going in the wrong direction and getting lost in it so much. We had to collapse it. And that's what's going to happen if we don't intervene and wake ourselves up to realize that we have been infiltrated, and the reality, the matrix, the creation floor is still under our control, but we are in such a level of amnesia because of the infiltration keeping us in this and feeding us the wrong information that we got lost, and we just need to wake up.
That resonates so heavily. That is, I don't know, man. I even got chills down my spine hearing what you were saying. And I remember when I reached out to you after what I would call my second official contact, second official experience. And a little bit of background on me. I've been an avid psychonaut since I was 16. I had my first psychedelic experience when I was 16. I've noticed my experiences change from very physical, like looking at the colors and the patterns, to them becoming very deeply emotional over time. So even before we embarked on this episode, Chris, I was thinking back, and I actually was thinking back to a couple of experiences before the two major ones, I would say, that were a light form of contact or a light form of a message. So there was a time where I was younger, I was going through some issues, and I got chromatically barred from psychedelics for a little bit. I think the universe was like, you need to work on yourself before you come back and you do these again. And I was like, okay, I hear you. So I ended up coming into an eighth or a quarter of these mushrooms. She was just my girlfriend at the time, and my wife, it was her first time. And we ate 2.5 grams. And mind you, I haven't had mushrooms in 5 years at this point. So this was probably a pretty heavy dose. So one of the profound experiences I had on this was I had a vision, and I was in Egypt when it was fertile, when it was a rainforest. And there was a body of water by the pyramids, and the pyramids look fresh. And like they had just been built, like they had just been finished off, like they had all of their original capstones, everything in this body of water. Well, I came to find out later that the Nile used to flow up right next to the pyramids, and it gradually moved away over time. And I was in this throne, and I was wearing a golden headdress, and I had all of this golden jewelry on, and my body was half physical, half ethereal. Like I could choose to be in a physical state if I choose to, but if I did not want to and I wanted to be in a state of energy, I could choose to do that as well. I could flip flop. And I remember I got out of the throne. I'm looking around. Mind you, I'm 5'10" right now, but I was dramatically taller in this vision. I had to have been like 7, 8 feet tall. I get off this throne and I walk up to the Nile, and I was looking at my hand, and I could see the energy flowing through my hand. And I went up to the water, and I pushed my hand towards the water, and this giant wave just formed and then just freaking slammed onto the beach. And I remember during this whole experience, I'm going, wow. I said, how am I supposed to go back to real life and be normal after this? I was like, this is this is prolific. Did I live this existence, or am I looking through the eyes of another entity? Am I in another being's body? So that was one of the first very prolific experiences. And then I would say about in 2020, I did a massive 5-gram heroic dose where I was greeted with entities who called themselves the Anunnaki. And they looked human, just like us. It was very interesting. And they were trying to deliver a message to me. But in that point of time in my life, even though I had been on my spiritual journey for a very long time, I had a lot of blockages and a lot of inner work I still had to do. So I don't think that message came through very much in the way, I guess, in a whole way during that experience. But then now we're up to the two very prolific ones. Now, when you first interviewed me, I touched on this lightly, but I'll go into a little bit more detail. So it was June 2022. I had a fresh made batch of DMT. I got done with my morning run, my yoga, my meditations, all of my spiritual practices. I was feeling in a very good head state. So I was like, you know what? Why not? It's been a while. Let's do this. So I go down, I get everything ready, and I go to take the hit. And as I'm holding it in, I notice that something is different this time around. The breakthrough is coming on so tremendously fast, so tremendously hard, in a way that it almost was like getting shot out of a catapult into the cosmos, like, quite frankly. And then reality started to decompartmentalize itself. And then after it did that, surrounding me were these 7 seraphim-like beings. And I'm looking up at them, and I'm in shock and astonishment. And then all of a sudden, I feel this water dripping on me. Now, mind you, I was in this basement right behind me. There's no plumbing or anything in this ceiling above me right here. And I'm like, where is this water coming from? I thought to myself. And then when I say telepathy, I use this term very loosely because I heard it in my chest. And then I heard the emotion that was conveyed with the message. I felt the emotion in my chest as well, which is still to this day one of the most bizarre things I can ever describe. And I hear, the water is a medium between the dimensions. This is how we could come to you and we could contact you, Stephen. We want you to come with us. And I was like, okay. I'm in it at this point. I was like, you guys show up in my basement and you want to take me somewhere. I think we're going. And So they took me to this realm, which they called our homeworld, our true homeworld. And it was like these flowing green pastures, and it had these beautiful crystalline buildings, and they were all perfectly geometric. And I remember I'm sitting there just in awe and astonishment, looking at this beautiful scene. And then all 7 of them turn and look at me and go, "Stephen, don't you remember?" I said, "Remember?" I said, "Remember what?" They go, "Don't you remember? You are one of us. We sent you back, and you chose to go back too. You actually took the mission head on," is what they said to me. And I remember at that point in time, it was like a lightning bolt struck down through me. And it was like something activated, something that, and I call it a reawakening, is what I call it. I call it my reawakening. That experience peeled another layer off of my whole experience here. And I remember, and then what they did is they took me after I made this realization, and they showed me just how fabricated this reality is. And that was a really big thing for me, because I had always believed it, and I had always knew it was, but to see the extent that it was fabricated is what absolutely blew my mind. And I remember as I was coming back, one of the funniest things, and this was kind of a key to me that I create my reality, when I was coming back and reality was recompartmentalizing, it recompartmentalized wrong, like things were off. And I remember going, "Hey, that's not right." And then all of a sudden it went bloop, just flipped back to normal as soon as I said that. And I remember after that experience, it opened up a very big can of worms for me. Of course, I used the discernment this first time around. I did. I was like, okay, like this was a really awesome experience. This was a really special experience. I'm going to put it on the shelf for now. We're going to see what's going on with this, and then whatever comes of it does. Mind you, the rest of 2022 was a very interesting year. This is the year I started my podcast at the end, and the year I talked to you and all that. So fast forward here to about the first weekend of August. It's a Friday. I had multiple trips in between. I had spiritual contact, but I didn't have any of these entities that I experienced during the DMT journey. So this is about the first Friday in August. I get home from work a little early. I just got these Thai mushrooms. You were the one who hit me up, and you were like, "Did you try these yet?" And I was like, "No, but I guess I will." So I did a small dose, and this is why this situation stands out to me, because of the dose and because of everything. So I did about 1.75 grams, right? And just something for a Friday night to have a little bit of consciousness expansion. About 2 hours into the experience. Now, most of you who have done mushrooms, the experience in totality lasts about 4 to 6 hours. The peak is usually done, or you're usually peaked about an hour and a half to 2 hours in. I'm sitting at my dinner table 2 hours into the experience, and all of a sudden the trip takes this weird turn. It starts getting DMT intense now. And I mean, off 1.75 grams, 2 hours into it, all of a sudden this manifests into this. This is why I was so confused at the time. So I'm like sitting there at my table, and I'm like, all right, look, I need to go lay down. Something's happening. And I was like, so I make my way over to my couch and I lay down. Then all of a sudden, so when I interacted with them the first time, they did something I call a temporal pause. They will pause time here in this frequency, but the other perceptions of time will still continue to persist. And then it came out of the wall. It came out of the living room wall of my couch, and I came to find out that this entity was me, my higher self. How I get there is a mystery to me still, but it was the equivalent of staring into the sun, not from Earth, but being right up on the sun and looking at it, interacting with my higher self. And we had the same similar telepathic communication. I was hearing in my chest. And he goes, "Stephen, you have to remember. You have to keep on remembering. You are Elohim. You came here." And I'm sitting here, and we sent you here. You have to destroy the detriment. And they call it the detriment. You call it, from when your experience you've called it the deception that's come in. Every time I've talked with them, they've called it the detriment. And I don't know if it's just the choice of words for the different person, but and you're here to fix the detriment. And this is what you have to keep doing. You have to keep coming back here. You have to. Then I'm sitting here looking at them. I'm looking at my higher self, and I give it this look, and then it looks at me and it smiles and it goes, I never want you to forget that I'm around the corner if you need me. And then he went back into the wall, and then I realized what had just happened. And it still communicated with me, not in my presence, but via telepathy. And it was informing me of who I am, where I came from, what my overall underlying purpose is. Just like you, it's to serve God. But it is also to take care of this detriment just as much as yours is. And I remember at this point in time, I thought to myself, this is the second time this has happened. I can no longer ignore this. There is something to this. And I said, there's something going on. And I remember the clarity I had. And you brought this up just in your conversation, dude, about how this realm makes you forget. Yes, it's like a haze. Like it permeates into your consciousness. Like I remember sitting there after it. I'm like, how do I retain this clarity? How do I keep retaining this clarity, this remembrance? And I got micro doses or macro doses a couple times a week, just like some of the similar, advice that you got also. And anywho, so I remember I'm sitting there, and that's when I talked to you. I sent you a text. I'm like, I'm gonna go out on a limb now and say that I've had some kind of hyperdimensional contact. It's like I this is all I can add it up to at this point. And then after talking with you and hearing your perspective on it, and especially the channeling that you did for me, which was, by the way, and I told Jennifer this, was still the most out of this world channeling I've ever experienced, dude. Like it was something else. And it definitely, and then also the experience that I had just recently on Sunday. So I had Mr. Frank Castle on.
Yeah.
He is I'm gonna tell you what, if he's pretty damn close. He's one of the closest I've ever talked to, and he's such a wonderful human being. Frank, shout out to you, man.
Well, I just want to tell you, they've got some big time players on our side that are here right now. Like some big names in the cosmos, if you will. That's all I'll say.
Well, and that's one thing I'll bring up that they did, and I've discussed this with you before. This was actually an experience I had on mushrooms and ketamine together, where they took my logo, they took BG, and they pulled it apart and showed me how it formed HTG. And that was a lot, because one, I would never make any claims of the sort like that. But the fact that that was shown to me was duly noted. I was like, okay, so maybe that's something I'll explore. But, Frank and I were talking, and I told him that, I had been working with Hanuman and the cities of Hanuman and things like that. And he's like, what you need to do, Steve, okay, is you go up to your mushrooms tonight before you take them, and you go, Hanuman, I want to sit with you, and I want to talk with you, and I want to learn from you. And I said, all right, Frank, I said, I'm going to do this. We're going to test this out. So I ended up doing it, and it was funny. So I ingested the mushrooms. It was a dose. I had about 2 grams left. I ingested that whole dose. I need to get some more so I can do it more heroic. But I did the Hanuman Combined Protection Mantra 108 times during the come up of this experience. And it takes an hour to say that mantra 108 times. It's grueling. It's work. And so I sat there with my mala beads for about an hour during the come up of these mushrooms. And then all of a sudden, like after I got finished, then all of a sudden they poked through and they said, you need to hit the DMT. And I was like, okay. I was like, because I had just made a fresh batch of DMT. So I went and I grabbed it, and I get myself ready. Of course, before you decide to embark on the DMT journey, you have to get yourself ready. It can, it's definitely a big one. So I went ahead and I took the hit. The stuff I have, you only need 1 hit. You don't need to do the 3. I dabbed it, and I'm holding it in. And at first it was taking a second. I wasn't even sure if I had any smoke or anything. So I held it in for about 20 seconds, and I let it out, and this big puff of smoke came out, and there it was. It came on. Mother Ayahuasca came up to me. She was very happy with me. She's like, you've done it. you've made the technology yourself now. She goes, it was almost like I got knighted almost a little bit. Like she was very proud. She also fixed my physical body, which I had been, it's a rare experience I've ever had that. I've been having issues with my wrist and my knee, and now they're dissipating, they're going away. And that was a beautiful thing to me. And then I saw my guides, and then out from between my guides comes this familiar figure, and he had a monkey face. And I looked at him and I was like, Hanuman. I was like, amazing. And he went like this. And then he patted my head. He put his finger up to his lips. He patted my head. And then he took his hand to my face, and his energy just entered into me. And he said to me telepathically, I'm going to walk with you for a little while, Stephen, because you've proven yourself and you've shown that you're willing to learn and you're willing to work. And that's eventually when I got out of that experience. And, to tell you the truth, Chris, it's getting to the point where there's an acceleration of our remembering. I'm starting to see this now. One thing Frank told me that I got shown some evidence for, actually sober and not an experience, is that Earth is a bigger planet. Our section of Earth is closed off to the other sections of Earth. There are other sections of this simulation, as you would call it, undergoing different, I guess, tests and experiences. And today I actually saw a very interesting video about how the moon shadows the map of Earth. And I saw a video of this, and I didn't know what to think of it at first. I always use discernment with any new piece of information, especially when it's like first provided to me. But then after seeing this video, so they showed the map of Earth, and then there were these other extra continents on the moon that I had never seen before. And you could definitely see our current set of continents, but to the right, there was another set that I had never seen. So it was definitely a very interesting thing. But the one thing that I'm going to say that I have summed up from all of my experiences, at least, is this: we are very special as human beings here. We have these natural, innate abilities that are not supernatural, that are not super normal. They are normal. We have just lost touch. We have lost connection with these. And some people call them the cities. Some people call them the riddies, whatever philosophical class you're coming from. But we as humans are the answer to all of the questions that the consensual reality has consistently tried to turn the focus of the collective away from. And to know that I am of a group called Elohim is, it was a huge pill to swallow at first. But you would think, we talked about how if you get the information at the wrong time, you get cult leaders, right? So
yeah. Well, here's the great thing about it: we all are, unless you're not. And if you're not, you're in a lower state of awareness, and you're in a lower state of experience. But that's not to say that you can't turn around and remember God and remember that you are an angel just fallen. That's the whole thing. We are the fallen angels. We just have to remember, and we can always go back to God. God always has his arms open and welcome. It's just if we would want to. And there's folks out there that, we're all God's creation, but there are folks out there that have forgotten so much that they've turned their back completely, and they need some reminders. So, and there are some that are working for the dark side that may not ever be able to be reminded, may not want to be reminded. But the thing is, we got to try. There's no approaching with hate. There's no approaching with malice. You got to approach everything and everyone with love, and remind them of love, remind them of God's love. And then they can make a decision based on that, whether they want to remember or not.
I really like that. And you're absolutely right. And I actually even I even talked about this in my show last night. It is a power in and of itself to stare in the face of somebody who is treating you with anger, hatred, and fear, and to use love, compassion, and understanding as opposed to reciprocating that energy they are producing to you. I think that's a power in and of itself, because if we look at the current human condition and the amnesia that we're currently in, most people will reciprocate that negative energy. They will feed back into that, the demiurge, Lucifer, Satan, whatever we know him as. But to turn around, I mean, even for instance, today, like, I had to go rent a 14-foot ladder from Home Depot, and the guy was just a complete dick for whatever reason. Must have just hated his job, whatever. But I just smiled and I continued to be very calm, very nice, and very understanding. And you want to know what? When I came back, he took some money off the ladder rental, because he was like, he goes, I'm just a dick and I know that, but you're a real nice guy and you put up with my shit. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, so
Yeah.
it's definitely, it's a power in and of itself, man.
Yeah,
And
that's how you got to
you can't
approach
forget it.
everything, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some wonderful revelations that everybody's coming to right now. And I've learned a big one too, and that's stillness and patience. And I'm not to rush anything. I was always in a rush to do everything and get this done and get that done and do work until I dropped. Well, I got to learn to relax and slow down a little bit. And that's what I've learned about my journey. But there's still much, much more to learn. Jen this morning had an experience, but she didn't even take any mushrooms. She just started having an experience out of nowhere, and she had a ton of memories come through right after I shared my memories with her. And she is right on track with us now, and she even remembers, a lot of her spiritual history now. So
That's
it's a
amazing.
beautiful thing. Everyone who is on that frequency is starting to remember. Everybody who's receiving the frequency and the energies coming through right now are starting to remember. It's coming through in waves. The waves are getting stronger. People are remembering more. It's going to continue to intensify, but at the same time, the dark side's going to become more aware and try harder to prevent it. So
I would have to agree. I think, actually, and there was one other one I'm going to throw in real quick, and I haven't talked about it with anybody, so I figured why I've only talked about it with Joe. Um, so why not? And this was a strictly ketamine based experience, and I feel ketamine can be beneficial to help crack the codes. If you look at the guy who created it, Carl Stevens, he was definitely a star seed. So I was sitting at my dinner table one day. Now, the reason why I don't talk about this, Chris, and you're probably going to understand why as soon as you hear this, because it was very much a lot. And it showed me something that was a little bit too much for me to handle at this point. And this was strictly off of a ketamine microdose. I was doing this. And then I'm sitting at my dinner table, and I get this flash of this memory. And I look down. I have these wounds in the center of my hand. I have these wounds in the centers of my feet. I see there's blood trickling down my brow. I come back out, and I remember I was like, whoa. Like I was like, whoa. And then I went back in, and then I saw myself in that time period, and I had longer hair. I looked kind of like I do now. And then I remember I was talking to somebody who looked like a familiar apostle. And I remember I broke free of that, and I was like going there, and I was like, no. I said, no, no, no. I said, if you are going to get me to believe that, because I was talking to my higher self, I was like, if you're going to get me to believe that, you're going to need to give me a literal burning bush. I mean, you were going to have to light that bush outside on fire in order. But then what happened, Chris, which was so bizarre, is the back of my neck and then my shoulders started to burn out of nowhere. Like, now, mind you, like I was sitting in my kitchen, the sunlight can sometimes come in, and get you a little hot. But this was like almost as if somebody was holding a torch to the back of my neck. And I remember, thinking about that. And like, again, like I use my discernment, I put that experience on the shelf until a few days later, where I would happened again. I had a very similar one where I was walking along Mount Sinai, is what it appeared like. And I was walking and I had these people following me. And this happened while I was driving my van. Luckily, like I was at a stoplight when this happened, but again, just a ketamine microdose, not a massive dose or anything. So, I would never make a claim like that. I'm not that person, but the fact that all of this stuff is being shown to me has to mean something in the end, is where what my end all is of this.
Mm.
And I mean, I think it's very possible that, some of us could have incarnated as some of these people back in the day. Maybe like you had said to me before that, at first they would send only one of us back. They would only send one of us back to try and get it done. But then they thought we were gods, and then they started worshiping
Well,
us.
yeah, I think that, they sent a guy, you call him Jesus, call it whatever, one guy at one time. One guy wasn't enough. So, and Frank actually shared this thought with me. So I'm going to give credit where credit's due. They said this time around, they're sending thousands of those guys. They're sending thousands of those guys because one guy didn't work. We tried this too many damn times before. We're going to send in 1,000 of those guys, and we're going to make it work this time. It's not the guy, but in a way, it's kind of the guy, but
Gotcha.
split off into different archetypes. But it's very difficult to understand when you're trying to explain it in this material realm. You have to experience it. Now, again, I'm saying this every time. I don't recommend anyone going to psychedelics. I don't recommend anyone going take high doses of mushrooms. This was something worked for me. This is something worked for Steven. It's something worked for other folks I know. Other folks I know should stay the hell away from all that stuff. But it's not for everyone. But if this show resonates with you, first of all, please email me. Let me know if any of this, if we sound like we're fucking nuts, let me know. If we sound like you're getting something out of it, let me know. If you are interested in trying the psychedelic route, I'm not going to give you advice. I don't think Steven will give you advice. I think you need to do your own research and find out for yourself what's your best route about going about these things. Because if I've come to learn that it's probably a good thing for some people to go to those retreats, those ayahuasca retreats in South America, and have other people guide your experience. Maybe you need help guiding your experience, but eventually you need to start guiding your own, because that's where the answers are. You have to have experiences by yourself. You have to lead yourself to where you need to be, because a shaman's going to lead you where they think you need to be. They don't have no idea where you're really supposed to be. Only you know where you're supposed to go with consciousness exploration. So in the end, it's an alone thing. It's something you need to explore by yourself, and it's terrifying. Terrifying. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's crazy. But for me, it was necessary. And if I wouldn't have done it, I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you. I wouldn't be doing anything that I'm doing right now. So I owe everything to my fearless consciousness exploration and everyone that's given me information and insights along the way. So
I dig it, man. I dig
that's
it.
where we are, sir.
You're a brave soul. Don't let anybody tell you
As are
different,
you,
man.
sir.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, Stephen. So let's close out. Is there anything you got upcoming that you'd like to tell us about, and also just remind the audience where they can find everything you got?
So, guys, again, I will not give you advice. I do think that you have to build a relationship with your higher self. The only piece of advice that I will give is, if you're going to embark on this, I highly suggest you have a meditation practice. And the reason why I say that is because in these experiences, you have to learn to let go. And meditation will teach you how to let go. Because if you don't let go and you fight the experience, that is when you have bad experiences. And yes, so but you guys can find me of course on Forbidden Knowledge Network under BGcast. You can find me on Rumble, BGcast. You can find me on Rokfin and Spreaker as well. You guys can find me on Facebook and Instagram under BGcast. And same here, guys. If this resonates with you, reach out to me. I'd love to have you on. I am doing a special 100th episode BG conference call with a couple of people, a couple of my friends and followers on the 20th. So if you guys want to check in for that, we'll be discussing some hot topics. And thank you again, Chris. I'm giving credit where credit's due, dude. You are pioneering this. You're doing a great job, and I'm awesome to be working alongside of you, pioneering this as well, and trying to decipher this and get to the underlying objective truth of this situation.
Yeah, let's change the world, or at least this world right now, this one. All right, Stephen, this was great, man. We're going to talk again soon. Thank you for talking with me today. And until next time, everyone, y'all have a wonderful evening. We'll do this again next time we're called to do it. So we'll see you then.
Have a good night, guys.